Greetings and salutations from the land down under. I got my magpie friends hanging out, so if they're making noise, I'm sorry. But you know, I've been watching on the news, and Australia has a weird perspective on everything. You know, the media in Australia is controlled by the government. 100% of the media is controlled by the government. You go and, you know, they own the education system here, the government schools, they own the media, they control it, they sign the checks. It's commercial free. It's just amazing. It's so good because they tell them exactly what they need to hear. But so I get to hear about this abortion issue in America, and so it gets me kind of doing some studies. You know, what is the 20th century, the last century, which is just a few years ago, what was it known for? Really, the 20th century notoriety, I think, when history will be known as the century of genocide. What do I mean by that? Well, you know, there was the Mao Zedong, the Chinese revolution, the Communist Revolution in China, of course the Russian Stalin Revolution, of course, it killed millions of people. Then, of course, there was the lightweight of only killing 17 million people under Nazi Germany, under the fascist regime of the Nazis, the National Socialist people. And of course, you know, there's the Khmer Rouge, and of course there's the Armenians, of course, right at the beginning of the century. So we have genocide everywhere, and we still have it to this day. Genocide's gone crazy. So when you look at abortion, abortion was justified on the same premise as, say, for example, the killing and the eradication of the Jews in Nazi Germany. Of course, the Turks killing the Armenians. Same rationale. They're not human. They don't deserve to live. They're unfit. The Germans were taught this Hegelian view that we have a right to destroy that which is inferior. Kind of like a Darwinian view. Actually, it is based on Darwinian thinking in that sense. The survival of the fittest. We want to create a master race by getting rid of the lower life forms, i.e. the Jews, the blacks, the gypsies, and anyone else that is deemed unfit to live. You know, Louis Alexander in the Nuremberg trials boiled it down to this, that the whole Nazi Holocaust didn't begin with the slaughter of the Jews, but it began with a thought. There's such a thing as a life unworthy to be lived. And that's exactly what brought on this whole genocide in Germany. Do your own study on this. It's quite fascinating. I even saw some things on Netflix about the Nazi death camps and all that sort of thing. But anyway, if you're someone enlightened, check it out. But abortion. Roe v. Wade justified, just like with Dred Scott, that the unborn are non-human and therefore have no rights. I just saw a bunch of these women that were out protesting. It's just a clump of cells. It's an unviable tissue mass. It's not human. When does it become human? When it's born. Then it has personhood. So we've drawn the line at the moment they take a breath of air that they declared human. But even there's infanticide going on after a botched abortion. They're out there screaming for life, and then they drop a placenta on their head and they suffocate them. You know, that's what happens. They physically try to suffocate them or cover their mouth, submerge them in water, whatever it takes to finally kill, because those unborn babies are then sold to various individuals who use them in research, use them in dissections, using it for stem cells, whatever they can get. There's a high-priced commodity there in these dead babies. So anyway, the personhood, that's really the issue here. Is that baby in the womb a human being? Genetically it is. They say it's my body. Well, yeah, it's your body. You have a right to your body. No one's questioning that. But there's a body inside your body. It's a whole new body. It doesn't have your DNA. It doesn't have your gender. Half the time it's a male. Half the time, more than half the time, it's a different blood type. It's a distinct individual genetically. Now, I just had a friend of mine here in Australia lose a baby. They're all excited. They had a miscarriage. Very sad day for them. Should I have said, well, don't worry, it wasn't human? No, that'd be insane. That'd be very insensitive. That would be criminal in my mind, but under the law, it wasn't human, so don't worry. It just, flush by baby. There you go. Gone, no big deal. Hey, it's not a human. Dred Scott decision. The Supreme Court determined that blacks were non-human. The term, they said, we were 3/5 human, which means they're not completely human, therefore they're chattel. You could own them, and killing them wasn't murder. Matter of fact, if you killed my slave, you took my property, you pay me for destroying my property. It's like if you wreck my car, you wreck this, you burn down my house, I'm gonna have to sue you. Blacks were chattel. Ownership. Under Dred Scott decision by our Supreme Court, determined that he was subhuman or non-human, therefore enslavement was fine. It wasn't until the Abe Lincoln Emancipation Proclamation and so forth that got this whole Civil War going. And the war was, in essence, about slavery and our right to have slaves. Well, you see, the thing is, in America, we dealt with that because of our Constitution. We had to fight a war to get rid of this whole idea of slavery. The world, up until that point, slavery was a normative thing. The pyramids in Africa, the Egyptians enslaved people. Slavery was all over North America. The Indian tribes would conquer and enslave the people they didn't kill. The Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayans, slavery was part and parcel of the culture of the day. And in America, because of our Constitution, we had an issue to take up with this personhood thing and the slavery issue. So we fought a war and we saved the Union. Thank God for Abraham Lincoln and the GOP, the grand old party that stood against slavery. All Democrats were against the stopping of slavery. Republicans pushed it through. And of course, secession took place. They were going to leave this union. And then, of course, no, you're not. We're going to deal with this as civilized human beings. Slavery is a moral wrong. We got to deal with it. And we fought a war of it. Only 1-2% of people in the South had slaves. I'm not going to get into all the details of U.S. history, which I absolutely love to teach and spent years teaching it. But I want to make this point very clear. The Dred Scott decision justified slavery, that the non-person of the black was the essence of the whole premise of that decision. Just like Roe v. Wade, they said the human being in the womb here is not a human actually. It's an unviable tissue mass. It is a blob of tissue. It is just a clump of cells. And those cells are not humans. Therefore, you can suck them out, crush them, pull them to pieces at any point up until birth. They take their first breath. Now we're protected by the law. You take your breath of American air, you're an American, right? But up until then, you're in the most dangerous place in the world, especially if you're in New York City, especially if you're in California, especially if you're a minority, which, by the way, just as you know, Margaret Sanger really pushed Planned Parenthood into existence to get rid of black people. So I am vexed in my heart, and I'm calling America to task on this one, and every person out there with any shred of decency to stand up for life. Give the benefit of doubt to that little creature, that little human that's inside that womb. Completely different. Yes, it's a different body. My body, my right. Well, that's not your body. That's someone else's body. And that someone else's body has a different blood type, like I said. It's half the time a different sex. And it has a complete different genetic code. And you say, oh, it's a potential human being. No, absolutely not. It's not a potential human being. It is a human being with great potential. This is something that America needs to stand against. And as an American citizen myself, we have come to the point where we kill every 90 seconds in America. A baby is slaughtered in the womb, ripped to pieces, pulled to pieces out of the womb. Partial birth abortion is they've gone so long, it's too late to salt them out. They just go ahead and deliver the baby, but they reach in and they pull out the feet first. They got the feet and the hands hanging out. The head is still in the birth canal. Then they shove a rod, a suction tube, into the back of the skull, turn it a few times, and suck the brains out, crushing the skull and delivering a dead baby. If that isn't inhuman, that is not satanic, I don't know what is. So please, pretty please, with sugar on top, take a stand against abortion. Stand for life. Be pro-life. It's the most human and humane thing to do. They say it's my body, my right. Well, then you need to have a little bit of control of what happens inside of your vagina. Rather than getting pregnant, wait to get married to have kids, or wait to have the right opportunity to have a child. Don't be sitting there going off the charts and using this as a form of birth control. It's not, it's murder. It is not health care. All these euphemisms that the pro-abortion people throw out there just boggle my mind. But I just want to leave this with you right now, that abortion needs to be dealt with in America, just like we had to deal with slavery, just like the Nazis declared the Jews vermin, just like the Turks killing the Armenians, considering them non-human and unfit to live. So we need to stand up for life. Let's put an end to abortion.